Lake Michigan is one of the great freshwater lakes, the largest and most mysterious in the United States. And now deep inside the lake, the scientists have discovered something by accident. It can't be explained. Large circular craters scattered across the bottom of the lake. It all starts in 2022. A group of researchers who wanted to map the bottom of the lake and looking for some wrecks. At first they were sure it's just some typical rocky terrain or patches of sand. But what they saw on the sonar screen made them stop right away. These strange circles look almost perfect. It can't be natural. They're hiding about 150 meters below the surface, in places where the water gets dark, and it's impenetrable. They're huge, 915,183 meters wide. They're also about 12 meters deep. And there's a row of 10 of them neatly arranged like footprints. But the team doesn't know what these things are. Then in August 2024 the mystery only deepens. Using a remote-controlled vehicle, they've taken a closer look at these rocks. There's about 40 rocks. No one has ever seen anything like this before in the Great Lakes. What could make those holes? Maybe they're ancient pits. It's probably the remains of some geological event, has been forgotten by time. If that's the case, it's strange that these holes you can lie there for a long time without being disturbed. Theories began to emerge. One possibility is that they could be a crater or take spirit. Basically, it's these holes that suddenly appear on the ground when the surface layer collapses. The stone below the surface is usually made of limestone, gradually dissolved by water over time. It creates space underground. When the surface above those gaps, it can no longer hold its own weight. It'll collapse, and this creates a hole. Think about it. It's like when you poke a straw through the lid of a drink. The hole can be a small hole or a large hole stretching up to 610 meters. They may appear gradually or at the same time. Sometimes they can swallow whole cars, or even the building. And Lake Michigan is on a limestone bed. It erodes quite easily as water flows through it. Craters like this have been found in Lake Huron, and they look pretty similar. But there's some holes in the story. It's not a joke. With this theory, for example, it's strange that they're all this big. It's also weird, and it's quite rare for a crater to appear in the lake bed. They're like a straight model. They seem to stretch south, form a pretty strange loose line. If this is a crater, then they're definitely not following the rules, conventional geology. Although there may be some new processes, anomalies are happening below the surface of the lake that we haven't discovered yet. But there's another theory, the ice. But glaciers are wild glaciers. They covered most of the Earth in the last century, the last ice age, and they're incredibly powerful. Although they can move slowly, sometimes just a few inches a day, but they're very heavy, to the point where it's possible to reshape the entire landscape for thousands of years. Glaciers can be tilted, and digging the soil underneath them. They're basically like giant bulldozers. Their weight, combined with slow but steady movement. I want everything underneath them. Rocks, even rock floors. This can create deep trenches on the Earth's surface are called glacial troughs. In glacial engineering, there's a lot of glaciers across the northern United States, including the Great Lakes region. If they moved through what's now Lake Michigan, they could have created these wormholes. Glaciers usually move in a fairly straight line. When they move, they cause the terrain to erode. But the process of erosion, so it changes depending on the terrain. Sometimes there are places where the rock is softer or cracked. And these places are more susceptible to glaciers cutting and crushing. That could explain why some pits, it's probably bigger and deeper than other holes. Harder rock platforms are less affected. But usually, this will lead to a round indentation. The crescent shape is called the indentation. Those indentations look more like grooves, are circular craters. It's as big as the craters in Lake Michigan. After the glaciers melt, the Great Lakes were formed. If the craters are formed by them, they're probably filled with water. It's a part of Lake Michigan. Although this theory is more like a speculation, so we need more evidence. But there's another layer to this mystery. The craters, it's not just strange geological formations. They can actually contain clues. It's about the origin of life on Earth. Some parts of Lake Michigan, especially the dark parts that have relatively low oxygen levels, it's like a lighter version of the environment. Deep ocean. There are usually very few of these elements. Take hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean, for example. Underwater holes in the Earth's crust. With some hot water, mineral oils usually have very low oxygen levels. But some creatures like places like this. For example, opossum shrimp. These tiny shrimp-like creatures. I like deep cold water. They're called that because they have pockets to carry their young until they're ready to stand on their own, like a snail or a deep-water ballfish. Small fish that live at the bottom and also like cold lakes. They're well adapted to living in dark water. It's usually near the bottom of the lake. And strange creatures like invasive national mussels. It looks like a shell. These are the little freshwater boys. Has spread to the Great Lakes. They stick to hard surfaces, and that can cause problems for the ecosystem by competing with native species of food and space. All of these creatures could be in Lake Michigan. And even more. There may be bacteria, or even specially adapted bacteria, with these extreme conditions, like in Lake Huron. There are only a few. The creature can survive deep inside these craters. And studying them, it can help us understand more deeply about how life once flourished. In the ancient oceans, the Earth's oxygen poverty. It's because in places like this, some of the earliest life forms flourished. The early Earth had a low oxygen atmosphere, even though it's much hotter. And the ancient microbes have adapted to this. Great Lakes, especially Lake Michigan. There's always a bit of a spooky reputation, like even this mission. It is also used to study shipwrecks. There's about 6,000 shipwrecks in the Great Place Lake. Many of these wrecks are still on the lakebed, preserved by cold and fresh water. And shipwrecks aren't strange. It is the only one associated with the Great Lakes. Over the years, have there been stories of disappearances? I can explain. Boats and even planes have disappeared. The water is usually quiet on the surface. It can suddenly become dangerous with unpredictable storms and big waves, leading to these mysterious events. Not to mention all the scary stuff that people have noticed there over the centuries, such as the spooky light on the water, or strange weather patterns like strange blindness, suddenly seen to emerge from nowhere. In 2007 they've even discovered some prehistoric structures. It looks like Stonehenge there. Yes, it's much smaller but doesn't move. It's about 12 meters below the surface, in the heart of Grand Traverse Bay. And it's been speculated that it's about 9,000 years old. It's much older than Stonehenge. Looks like this is a trace. People who have lived in this area thousands of years ago. These giant rocks are arranged according to a bending model. Glide carefully, stretching over 1.6 kilometers. They're about the size of a basketball to compact cars. But there's one rock that's particularly striking. A rock 1.1 to 1.2 meters high, 1.5 meters wide. It's engraved with the image of a blood-toothed elephant, a creature that has roamed the earth 11,000 years before the extinction. Maybe it sank there at the end of the last ice age that we've talked about. This period has reshaped this area. This place is now underwater, but it used to be land. So the stones were probably made by the people who live there, although we're not sure at Sao. Are they used as hunting tents? Or it's an ancient calendar? Who knows? Only about 15% of the bottom of the Great Lakes has been discovered. Now, scientists are preparing for a deeper dive into this mystery, both literally and figuratively. They want to analyze the lake beds around the craters. I hope that maybe there's something in the environment around them made them appear. They have the initiative as Blackback 20310. These missions will map out the whole underwater landscape. This will help us find out. There's a ton of interesting things about Lake Michigan and the past of our planet. Who knows other secrets that these dark waters hide?